Alright, hey guys. This is gonna be a little bit of a different video, I guess. Not a day in the life or anything really athletically, to be honest. This is more of just like a talk video. I might not even really edit it much because I just want to be as raw as possible, but I feel like I needed to make it at some point, so I found a cool place with downtown Calgary in the back. You guys probably can't see it, but only place I could really find. So I just brought the camera on top of my car and started filming here because I thought it was pretty. And I forgot the microphone. I left it charging. I had full intentions on bringing it, and I just left it on the charger. So that's unfortunate, but it's all good. We can make do with what we got, I guess. But yeah, as the title says, I'm 18. I have no real friends, and most days it feels like I'm just chasing something alone, if that makes sense. So I don't know, ever since I left my last year of university here, not here in Victoria, um, I always had the dreams of becoming a fitness something. I always knew since my eating disorder that I had a passion for it. Um, and like content creation and training and documenting, I just love doing that, and I never really knew how to start or where to start, so I just started. I basically bet on myself and spent every last dollar I had on this camera, so there's that. But yeah, my journey has been not really all over the place, but kind of undefined as of now. I am seeing a lot of growth on Instagram and not really on YouTube, but that's okay. All part of the process, nothing being unheard. I'm not familiar with. So, but yeah, like I'm trying to make this my life. First year university made me realize that I cannot just go into work and stare at paper all day and computers and have developed spinal issues sitting at a fucking desk. Like, I can't do that. I can't follow the whole crowd always, and I knew I had to break out, and I know breaking out was going to be hard, but no one really prepared me for how misunderstood and lonely the path would be. But I guess, like, question to ask is, does chasing your dreams always mean being alone? No, but I think that's just part of it. There's nothing I'm not used to. All throughout high school, I feel like I've been like that guy who's just, after my eating disorder, just focused on myself and just did my own thing because I figured everyone else was on a different path, wanted different things, was doing different things, and I was just able to work better on my own without external useless distractions. But yeah, I guess right now, I'm kind of just working on growing, right, my following. I'm gonna start an online fitness coach business soon for sure. I'm really passionate about that, and I want to make that my life. I love doing that, as well as becoming a BPN athlete. I would love to do that. So that's gonna take obviously growth and more of a following, but that's something I'm familiar with. Taking a while to reach your goals. That's my life, basically. But yeah, so I'm here. I'm gonna keep creating, obviously, but I just feel like I wanted to just get this out because it was just a point. Um, like I know, and it's like the reason it's so lonely is because like I'm really alone. There's not a single person wanting to pursue the path I'm going down, cares about being overly successful, who's in my life. And like that's why I just wanted to make this video, because I feel alone, but I know I'm not the only one. But yeah, I guess we'll start off talk about the loneliness. Really, my whole life I've never really had. I did have a lot of close friends growing up, and then we moved when I was about 9 years old, and ever since we moved here, it's kind of just been bouncing around between friends and groups. And then grade 10, 11 came around, and I just kind of figured, why am I staying around people I don't want to be like? And that's really when my life improved, but obviously that's really lonely and kind of sad, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But you kind of just gradually pulled in. Like, it wasn't like had friends and then just complete nothingness overnight. It was more of like, I just realized I wanted different things, and over time just pulled people apart. Even my siblings, I feel like I've lost connection with my sister completely. She's gone off the rails. She's a kleptomaniac. She steals everything, and she's stolen some stuff from me I'll never forgive her for. So I've lost it with my sister. And my brother is just like a completely different human being than me. He was telling me stories about how he went to Australia, and him and my cousin had no other better thing to do than to just get drunk before their flight to Australia. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, you are a completely different human being. But that's why we don't really get along there. And that, on top of my friends just not really connecting with me at all. I like to think I'm not weird. I just think I woke up and everyone else hasn't. If that makes sense. But honestly, I'm kind of okay with it. Like I said, I feel like there's this quote that I know Nick Bear didn't come up with, but he said it, and he said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's why I want to join BPM so bad. Not just to be what I've always wanted to be, but to be around people who help lift me up. And I feel like I can go a lot farther, business, creating, everything wise, being around like-minded people, and that's just not happening where I live right now. But it doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. I've never really had many people on Snapchat. No one texts me on Instagram. I just follow like NASA and random stuff on there. It's not until recently I'm growing a bit of a following on Instagram, so I still don't really get any, like, I do get a lot of DMs, and for them I'm so thankful, but no friends really, until you start seeing growth, seeing progress, and then they all come flocking in, but I know better than to listen to them, you know what I mean? But no matter how close I am to anyone, if I'm invited anywhere, I just feel disconnected 24/7. Like I'm talking to an animal that knows English. It's like, I know these things, I want to do these things, I have big dreams for my life, and whenever I'm around other people, it's like, oh, how was Jessica, and this breakup this, and I got so drunk that, and did you invite her to the party? It was so cool. Like, I cannot be around these people. Are you serious? This is what you care about? For 8 hours a day, you'd rather stock shelves and then party your life away on the weekends than to do something? I don't get it. I really don't. So that's kind of like where I'm at. But it does come with some upsides. Like, there's a car right there. I might get interrupted, but whatever. But like, obviously, unlike-minded people are just gonna pull you down, and no matter how slow, no matter how long it's gonna take, if I'm on the right path by myself, then that's a win in my eyes. But just because you're surrounded by people doesn't mean you feel close to anyone. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. But I really do think chasing my goals pushed me away from people. Definitely made it hard to connect. I feel like it's almost morphed my personality into a completely different person. Like I said, it's like people are just so one way, and me and a very select few are the other, and no one around me or that has been around me really understand. So trade-off, I don't know if there's any trade-offs between focusing on yourself and maintaining friendships. I feel like obviously if you're an extroverted person, that trade-off would be pretty significant. I've always been close to myself. I've always been careful about who I've let in, and I've regretted people who I have. So I'd just rather stay away altogether. At this point, I'm alone intentionally, if that makes sense. And it's also just how I ended up. But until, I'm not trying to keep people out of my life. There's no benefit into having people who are just going to keep pulling me down. And I've noticed that throughout the years. I'm 18 years old, I'm acting like I'm an 80-year-old man spitting some wisdom, but that's not the case. And the wind just decides to pick up out of nowhere. That's great. I hope you guys can hear me, because I did not bring the mic. But, it's made it, ever since my eating disorder, I feel like I've had a bit of a prone to mental illness, kind of. Not like a schizophrenic illness, but I just get too into whatever activities I'm doing, and it becomes an obsession, and then it ends up going too far, if that makes sense. Anxiety, stress, and doubt. It's all things you if you don't have someone to talk to, obviously it's pretty hard. I've been in 2 relationships. They haven't really lasted more than 5 months. And that's simply not because of what I did. They both have just said, I'm not ready for a relationship. I think we should just be friends. Okay. Just, if you're going to act like that, just get out of my life, please. I thought you were here to help me, but it turns out you just wanted to be a bop. And there's nothing you can do about that. But I definitely think it's affected my mental health. But I really do think the beginning of the decline of my mental health was because I was around people. It really kind of started in a school that's just down the road from here, actually, middle school, grade 6. I wouldn't say I was fat. I would say I was more big boned. I grew up normal size, and then as we moved, I just slowly got bigger and bigger. Not fat though, again, big boned. I just had size on me. And I was pretty athletic too. I was playing football. I was a running back. But then it got to the point where I get called names maybe once a month, and that turned into once a week, and then that turned into every day, and then multiple times a day, and I just got home every night and I couldn't deal with it anymore. And that's kind of how I spiraled into eating less and then almost starving myself to death from anorexia nervosa over the course of the end of a school year and a summer length of time. I went from 150 pounds in grade 6, which is crazy because that's how much I weigh now, to I think my lowest was 72 pounds. So I lost over half my body weight and was almost hospitalized. Should have been hospitalized. I was an absolute disaster. And it took me, I remember being told it would take about a year of rehab to get out of it. It took about 2 for me. And even when the, whatever you want to call it, rehab ended, it still felt like it was there. you know? And I just have to accept the fact that I'm never going to see food the same ever again. And from that point, I just had to realize that I'm probably not going to be able to let anyone get close to me ever again. Because it really does just stab you in the back, at least every time I've done it. Especially if you have different goals and all this stuff. Overthinking's a usual thing. I think super deeply about everything, and that's a blessing and a curse in and of itself, because then you just feel everything so much deeper, and you hyper fixate and analyze everything, and that can be a blessing, especially in the business world, but it also be a curse as well. I don't know. You're in a bad place when you look at your phone and you get dozens of DMs telling you that like I'm just changing people's lives, had cancer, and helping motivate people and making this world a better place, and then look in the mirror the same night and you just like feel like you're not doing anything. It's a tough place to be. And I don't really talk to my parents about any of it because they don't care. If I'm not busting my ass for minimum wage, they couldn't care less about me. But I'm not doing all this more so to prove everyone wrong. It's more to prove myself right. But it feels like everyone else believes in me more than I believe in myself, and that's a scary place to be. But that's not going to mean I'm going to stop. I'm going to keep pushing no matter what. Some days I feel low and like I'm getting nowhere, and then some days I feel like I have the whole world going my way. Usually it's not like that, but that's just how it goes. But part of me believes that it's gonna pay off at some point, no matter how hard you work. If you just keep grinding, I feel like the universe just unfolds the way it should, And then I don't know, I don't know why I keep going. I guess it's just kind of bred into who I am. I know if everyone's worried about you need a plan B and what if it doesn't work out, but my philosophy it's more, if I don't quit, I can't fail. It's as simple as that. If you never give up, you're never gonna fail. And that's true, but it also can do a number on you financially if you're in the wrong situation. So I haven't given up because that's just not who I am. It's just, I know throughout fitness, throughout content creating, that if you just keep going, it's gonna work out. Consistency is key, and that's where everyone fails. You need the discipline, you need the consistency, because that's really what separates you. Everyone's there when you start, and everyone's there when you finish. It's the middle that's the hard part, where no one's there. And you need to hold yourself accountable each and every day without anyone there to help cheer you on, push you, motivate you. A lot of lonely mornings and late nights doing things that you feel like might yield no results, but that's just how it goes. And it's just enough, you just get enough positive results that you can keep going. You go, and then you get one new follower here, and it keeps you going. That's just how it is. And a lot of people overestimate what they can achieve in a week and grossly underestimate what they can do in a year. That's why people don't succeed. And I know I already said this, but it's really weird place to be when you don't have a certain future, but you just keep showing up, and everyone says you're gonna make it, but it really doesn't feel that way. It's tough. I've always had a very imposter syndrome mindset, I feel like. I've always doubted myself, but I've noticed through training for sub 3 marathon and doing it that the consistency and discipline and hard work takes away the doubt, because then you know you're going to succeed when you show up to that start line and you have a year and a half of hundreds of runs under your belt and you know that you can do it. That's where the doubt goes away, and that's what I'm good at, just showing up no matter what. But there's, I guess, lessons I've learned. Being alone, obviously, a lot of resilience, independence, and you have to be your own motivator, and you have to be able to focus even when no one's there, when there's no motivation. And a lot of that's again where a lot of people quit, because they wake up, they have a 5 a.m. alarm, and they just snooze because they'd rather choose comfort over discipline, over work, over growth, and that's not who I am. Especially when you've tasted that growth, tasted the wins, and see minor gains. Not every day, but every week, every month, you notice that you've come pretty far. And why would you stop? That's another thing. They're like, how do you keep showing up every day? It's not, at this point, it's not discipline, it's obsession. And it's knowing that I have all this fitness, all this work, all this growth underneath in my belt. And if I stop, it's not just going to stay there, it's all going to go away. So it's an obligation to not only keep what I've gotten, but to keep going forward. Because that's what life's all about. It's about constantly learning and growing, and that's where a lot of people get confused why I don't really want to go back to university. I would, obviously, if I was smart enough to be an engineer or doctor or someone meaningful like a lawyer, but I'm not, and I really feel like everything I've learned has been completely useless. I did a science, first year undeclared science, because I enjoyed biology in high school, but everything I learned was so useless. I just remember learning about the shoot apical meristem. It's where cell division occurs, primary cell growth occurs in plants, and I'm just thinking they're thinking like, what is this going to do for my future? I am wasting so much time learning bullshit. Like, obviously some degrees are different, but 2/3 of the classes you take are useless. I'm never going to need to write an essay ever again. You got AI to do that. Doctors are probably going to get took over by AI machines. Maybe the military, and that's about it. If I have a plan B, that's where I'm going. I'll get laser eye surgery and become a pilot or something. That would be awesome. But like, loneliness has taught me to be my own biggest motivator, for sure. And that's a skill and that's a trait that will help you for the rest of your life, hands down. But yeah, I guess to everyone else out there who might for some reason feel this way, I don't know, you're not alone, and there's power in the process. I know it's hard, I know it's tough. If there was people there who are like me, I would obviously love to be around them. My dream would be to somehow work with BPN and get like a work permit and move down to the States, because I'm in Canada right now and US is kind of kicking everyone out right now who's not a resident, so not the best place to go in uninvited. So I'll just, maybe if I get like a work permit, that would be awesome. But try not to get too encouraged by that fact, because I don't really get super disappointed when I can't. You know what I mean? But being alone doesn't mean you're behind. It really does most of the time mean you're ahead, because you are on a different wavelength than every other human being. And it's a good and bad feeling. Once you get used to it, it's something else. But yeah, I guess I'm not really bad at just winging it off the top of my head. I'll close this video with one big paragraph I wrote late at night when I was just contemplating life, I guess. I feel like the blessings in my life are becoming more of a curse. The act of constant deep thinking has had numerous upsides within my life, but I also feel like it's a curse to think and feel everything so very deeply. When the average person wouldn't bat an eye, I feel like I've already sculpted together every single logical outcome and have unlocked a perspective that nobody else understands. I stay up late at night, wrestling contradictions, and feel like everyone on this planet is asleep. I'm the only one who's woke up and can see the bigger picture, the point, and even a remote purpose for the true meaning of life. While everybody else spends their time gossiping, doom scrolling, drinking, partying, and trying to find the next person to hook up with, I feel like I'm just standing alone, and the only person who sees all these normalized actions is wrong. How I want to live with meaning and purpose is going to take being completely misunderstood and ridiculed by the common man. I'd rather live one day as a tiger than 1,000 days as a sheep. Everyone else lives their lives as sheep, choosing comfort and pleasure and following a crowd over hard work and building a life full of purpose. And been forced into a perspective on life that tells us we should simply live to scrape by and to use the rest on materialistic things that will never make us truly happy. To buy things to make us seem as though we are of higher status, superior, and have more wealth than we actually do, just to show off to everyone else, because that's what life's all about, right? The Louis Vuitton glasses, the Chanel purse, the only thing you're getting is dragged into these huge corporations' marketing and advertising strategies that are in place to make you desire them simply for the name on the item. I wish somebody would have told me how lonely this path would be, but if they did, then I probably wouldn't have took action. I wish someone would at least told me something that would have prepared me for this onslaught of solitude. I see like-minded people online all the time, but never in real life. And chasing purpose is starting to feel like something most people just fake in order to seem as though they're successful. But in reality, I seem to stick out like a sore thumb. I can't live the rest of my life knowing that I could have, but didn't, simply because I chose comfort over growth. Why am I taking advice and listening to people who are living lives that I don't want? That is kind of the switch that flipped. I feel like the eating disorder kind of altered my brain into a completely different way of thinking, and that's one thing that I just realized. I'm like, why do I care about what everyone else is thinking? If I have dreams and want to be something more than just one amongst the crowd living a meaningless, purposeless, whatever life, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense wanting something if you're not willing to do whatever it takes to get it. If you don't want to live the lifestyle, then release yourself from the desire to crave the result. I don't know if anyone relates to this. I kind of just yapped. But hopefully like-minded people will come into my life at some point. hard path and the right path are usually the same path.